kid from Michigan who started painting garage doors for $100 a pop.
That's right.
And are you in possession of maybe the most ironic name of all time? Because Mello is not the first word that pops to mind when I listen to you. It's so funny. You're like you just strike me as a guy that probably doesn't sleep much. Maybe you do. I don't know, but not Mello.
Well, I've got a little bit of ADHD, believe it or not. I've learned to channel that. I'm loud. I'm pretty obnoxious. I'm not the quietest guy in the room. But people are like, Mello, not so mellow. Tommy Mello, not so mellow is what I'm known for. So I have a lot of fun, though. And I'm around people that I love. And they know my weaknesses. They know my strengths. And you've heard that thing, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Absolutely.
And I've got really, really strong people around me. And I hear a lot of people that say this, but I never go to work. I don't go to work anymore. I go do what I love. And I say at the end of my orientation, if you got something great, you have a record day, you do something great for somebody, I want you to call me. And I want you to tell me that if something bad happens, something goes wrong, call Luke or call somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I want people to hear your journey because a lot of what we've done here with MicroWorks, it gets sometimes a little muddled because people think, oh, okay, so all you're telling me to do is work hard and learn a skill that's in demand and the world's going to beat a pathway to my door. I do believe that can and does still happen a lot. But I also think the willingness, this other quality that you clearly have in spades, a willingness to go to where the work is, a willingness to reinvent yourself, an entrepreneurial spirit, a measure of ambition, right? Like those things also really matter. I don't spend a lot of time talking about them because I kind of feel like, well, look, that falls to the individual. And so the fallout from that is I've become the guy with the foundation who says, get up earlier, stay later, work harder. But that's not really ever enough. Not really. So as you relate your story, I just want people to understand what the other things are that have turned you into, and again, I apologize because this sounds a little, I'm never all about the money, but it should be noted that I think you're worth $1 billion.
Yeah, that thing's been pretty good.
Aw shucks, he says. Your net worth is over $1 billion. You've made over 25 millionaires around you in your business. So as you sum this up for me, as a guy who started this by painting garage doors, I just want people to understand that the American dream, or at least some version of it, is certainly something you've lived and are living.
Well, I'll just say this. I'm with Joe Polish. I was at that event, and my fiance asked Joe one day. He was at my house, and she walks up to Joe, and she says, "Why do you love Tommy so much? Why do you help him? Why are you so good to him?" And he says, "I've never met somebody who's made the kind of money Tommy has and still looks out for the little guy. Never mean, super humble." And I almost get teary-eyed because I remember where I came from. And I just think a lot of these people that I'm around, they need a chance because I got so many chances. But I got started when, really it starts when I was a kid, is watching my mom and dad get a divorce. Yeah, I was 4 years old, and I used to stand on the toilet in the bathroom and listen to the drywall of them arguing about bills. And I just said to myself at a very young age that I'm not going to let money tear my family apart. So they got a divorce, and mom worked 3 jobs, and she never went to get food stamps. But my mom was too proud. I don't know, too proud, but just she wasn't. My grandma had 5 kids, had to go get food stamps, the old school food stamps that were like really embarrassing. And then they started giving like a credit card to go get stuff. But
man, I remember those old food stamps. There was no hiding them.
No.
When you pulled them out, everybody knew you were on the dole.
Yep.
And no judgments, good, bad, right, wrong. What is it? The death of shame, or the somehow or another, we decided that it would be best if nobody knew who was hurting. And I'm not sure we did ourselves any favors.
I don't think that's a favor to anybody. I think everybody that had to go on food stamps, it was hard enough.
Yeah.
They're going through pain. My mom's whole childhood was a piece of bread and butter. That was good. And that's all Grandma had. And she was selling door-to-door perfume. But she did everything she could to make it. But that was supposed to be rock bottom. That was something for people that absolutely hit rock bottom. It's supposed to be a safety net till you get back up on your feet.
Yeah.
And she got on her feet. And as the kids started to graduate and leave the house, she got off of them. And I think it's a way of life now. But unfortunately, a lot of people abuse it. And I think it's there. I think it's a great thing still for a safety net for people. But my mom just decided, listen, I'm going to keep you kids in school. We're not moving out of the house. I'm going to keep you around the neighborhood where you have your best friends. So I ended up getting a job. I mowed lawns, shoveled snow. I hated asking mom for money. I hated it. So I knew I had to be a self-starter. I got a job when I was 12 washing dishes under the table, $4.05 an hour. And I had more money than anybody. I mean, if I wanted something, I bought it. And so I learned to work hard as a young kid and wash dishes, bus tables, serve tables. I bartended. And then I started a landscaping business in Arizona when I moved there. And I did pretty well considering it's landscaping. And I didn't go about things the same way. I used to do water conservation analysis, figure out if I should put a drip system in and save you a bunch of money. So I picked up a lot of commercial work.
Wait, how old were you at this time?
I was 19 when I started that business.
Okay.
And
what was your first business?
that would have been my first business, is landscaping.
Okay.
And, well, the first thing I did, this is pretty cool, is one day I'm watching TV, and I saw this awesome machine, and it was like the guy was in shape, and I'm like, I need that. And it was called a Bowflex. And I'm like, I need to buy that Bowflex. So I call up, and they're like, it's $2,400. And I'm like, I don't have $2,400. So I go in the Arizona Republic, the old newspaper classified section. I look up, and there's a Bowflex.
Slightly used.
Slightly used, barely used. And I called the guy up, and he goes, you're the 20th person that called me. Somebody already came and picked it up the minute the ad came out on Sunday. And my roommate's walking by at the time and says, have you ever heard of that website called Craigslist? And I go, Craigslist? No, I never heard of it. I type it in, www.craigslist.com. And I go there, and I find 5 Bowflexes for $700, $500, $300, and they were all over the place. I went and bought all of them. And I ended up putting an ad in the Arizona Republic for 4 years. And so
you're reselling used Bowflexes.
So I'm buying them on Craigslist, selling them in the Arizona Republic. And 2 years into this, I'm flipping around TV, and I see Chuck Norris, the Total Gym. So I go on Craigslist, 25 Total Gyms, go buy all of them, place an ad for 2 more years in the Arizona Republic. And it was the first time I knew what this fancy word was called arbitrage.
Yep.
You buy it here, sell it here.
There.
And it was a completely different audience.
Chuck did the same thing with the Thigh Master for a few years. And
hold on.
it really made a killing.
Yes.
If you could eat a steer, if you could eat a cow, don't take a chance on a foreign ranch. Get Good Ranchers now.
Say hello to my little friends. Not so little, actually. I thought you might like to know that last year, 4 billion pounds of meat was imported into this country. 4 billion pounds, that's 2 million tons. And sold in grocery stores with labels on the packages that said, product of the United States of America. I find that kind of deceptive. I went down a rabbit hole and tried to find a trustworthy source, a place where I knew where my meat was coming from. It's Good Ranchers. And I'm excited to ask you to go to goodranchers.com/Mike to see what they're doing different. The short answer is pretty much everything. It's meat with a mission. When you subscribe, you save $25 automatically every month. You get free shipping. You also get a free gift. It's basically free meat for life. Could be a Wagyu burger or 2. It could be bacon. It could be all beef hot dogs. I love them. The food is delicious. Try it. Save $40 on your first order. Goodranchers.com/Mike. That's goodranchers.com/Mike. I would love to chat, but I'm famished.
No, that was in my late teens, and I was working at Cheesecake Factory. I was a busboy, and I walked into Cheesecake Factory for my normal busboy shift, and this is when everything changed. I remember this day vividly. I said, "Why do I got to stay here? There's no tables. We don't close till 11. It's 9 o'clock at night." Mm-hmm. And the manager said, because I said so. And that wasn't good for me. I remember being very angry. So the next night I'm working the same shift, the only busboy there. We're open till 11. And I said, why do I got to stay here? He goes, because, Tommy, you make $5.15 an hour. If a table does come in I'm going to have to bus it. And I'd rather keep you here till 11. So if it does come in, you could bus it. I said, thank you. That's all I wanted, was somebody to tell me why and the reasoning behind it. And a lot of people were just an authority figure. They didn't want to tell me. So I decided I'm never going to be that guy. If somebody's got a real question for me, I'm going to give them the honest to God truth. So long story short, I get into garage doors painting them. My roommate says, listen, if you could paint these garage doors, I could get you $100 a piece. So I go to Home Depot, I go to Lowe's, I go to Ace Hardware. I figured out there's this paint called Speed Coat by Glidden, and it's $12 a gallon. And you got to buy the tape and paper. I bought a Magnum 5. It was about $600, and I had a G20 Infinity in 96, so I had good gas mileage. I called everybody in the Yellow Book, and I became their primary painter. And I could paint 10 doors Saturday, 10 doors Sunday.
What do you mean you called everybody in the Yellow Book? The Yellow Pages?
The Yellow Pages, yeah. So I called every garage door company and became their primary painter. And so I had to meet up with all these garage door technicians, and they're handing me these samples because I'd have to match the paint. And I tell the client I can't match oxidation, but I'll get as close as I could.
Tommy, this is so random. Why garage doors? Why do they need, like, what? Help people understand what that niche is.
Well, garage doors in 2005, my buddy started managing at a company. It was a really big company at the time. And he said, there's no paint, there's no color that comes out from the manufacturer that matches their house. So you got to paint match the house. So they cut out a sample of the old, they grind out a little sample, and then they go match it. So Home Depot, you place it under this little thing, and it'll match as close as it could get. So I would go, I'd go from house to house. I literally, and this is MapQuest. This is before they had like TomTom or any Garmin's.
Right.
So I'd set up my route, and I'd go knock it all out, and I was really good. And I meet with these technicians, and they're like, yeah, they were making a lot of money. So I convinced my other roommate to start a business, and so we picked a name, and I remember we were talking to my partner's really smart business cousin, and he goes, A1 falls first in the phone book. And this time, that was the first thing we did, is put a phone book ad out there. Hence A1 Garage Door Service, which was the biggest mistake of my career because it happens to be there's 93 other.
Everything's A1.
A1.
No one's B2.
No, it's all A1 or triple A.
You're right, triple A, quadruple A. It's
So we started A1, and unfortunately, my roommate, amazing guy, best friend, roommate, business partner, that doesn't work very well. And I realized there was a lot of contempt and animosity. So in 2010, I got the courage to say, look, you keep the business or I'll take the business, but whoever does it's going to take the debt. And he said, look, he's like, I love you, dude. We'll stay best friends. I'm going to move to Montana to be closer to family. And what do you do when you got nobody to trust and you're trying to make it through life is you call mom. So I called mom and I said, hey, I know you've lived your whole life. 2010, I mean, she's 1954. So at that point, she's 56 years old. And I said, I want you to take a flyer on me. Would you and my stepdad, Bill, consider moving out to Phoenix and help me run this business?
They're still in Michigan at the time.
Yeah.
Big ask.
And
from a kid who didn't want to ask her for money once upon a time. Now leave everything.
Well,
you know,
I did. I gave her a job making $16 an hour, which she was embarrassed about. She's like, I don't know if I even want your money. So they were always good at saving money, and they did. She called me back a week later, said we're going to sell the house and move out there. And they moved in a little townhouse, 3 stories up, small place, tiny place. And my mom answered phones. And my stepdad Bill did everything I hated, which is payroll, and did some of the door estimates. I liked marketing. I liked sales. I liked training. I loved like the stuff I love. They let me do. 2014 comes around, and we're making the business work. And I meet this really cool guy. His name's Adam Cronenberg, and he says, "Hey, I'll come into the business. I got a finance degree." And he always jokes when we talk now because he's like, "Dude, there would be 3 weeks where you wouldn't pay me, and then you give me a $3,000 check." He goes, it was so sporadic. He goes, if we were having a bad week, you'd call me up and say, this is not a good week to get paid. And if we were having a bad week, he'd call me up and say, I need you to go run jobs. Can you go run 2 days worth of work? And I'd go set a record. And he's like, you made it. We did payroll. We're good.
And we're still painting garage doors at this time.
I was painting garage doors from 2005 to 2010. Mm-hmm. And then I got just into the garage door business when mom and Bill moved out.
Is that mom?
That's mama.
Nice.
That's probably around a little bit before she moved out. And
Are you a mama's boy?
I am.
Yeah, me
Mom
too.
is she's the best.
Yeah.
And long story short, 2017 was a good year. We got on the right CRM. I started the podcast, and I met a guy named Al Levy, the 7-power contractor, that taught me standard operating procedures, checklists, the right way to do an org chart. And at this time, I was his last student before he retired. And
Speaking of which, college at all?
Yeah, so 2010. So believe it or not, I was pre-dental. I took anatomy, physiology, organic chemistry, advanced calculus. Decided when I interned with the dentist, he goes, "Listen, dude, do not become a dentist. Go to business school." He's like, "I still owe $300,000, and I'm 47 years old at the time."
Soon may the noblemen come to bring a bottle for everyone. One day when the waiting is done, we'll take a drink and go.
And so I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in business, and my mom encouraged me to get a master's degree, so I did, part-time, Mondays from 4 to 10. But I got to tell you, Mike, I didn't use that degree. I learned how to network well. I learned a little bit about public speaking. And I did learn about an interesting man that I've become good friends with, is Robert Cialdini. He wrote the book Influence.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but nothing really came out of that. But I do have a master's degree, but people ask, would you do it again? And I'm like, absolutely not. It didn't really serve any purpose. It didn't help me. Yeah, I mean, look, found the right mentors, was always curious, still am curious, stayed humble. I remember one day Al Levy, one of the best mentors of all time, he's like a second dad. He goes, I said, "Hey, Al, I've been reading a lot of books. I got a couple ideas." He goes, "Stop." He goes, "Until you know my way, I don't want you to learn anything else. Until we apply these principles, you know your numbers, your org chart, your depth chart. Until you do exactly what I tell you to do, I don't want any ideas. I want you focused. I want your cell phone off when we're working together, or I'm going to fire you." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And that's how it went. And I was always good with my grandparents, so I learned how to respect elders early. And Al's still a good buddy. We still talk all the time. He's a mentor of mine. But it's crazy because everybody I called, I said, "Who's got the most private jets?" It happened to be all the HVAC guys. And when I got on a Service Titan, all of these people invited me.
So people understand, Service Titan was the private equity?
Service Titan is a CRM that's known for HVAC, plumbing, electrical. And the founders are Ara and Vahe. And I called in and I said, "I want to be on your CRM." This is 2017.
And CRM stands for?
Customer Relationship Management System. It's the operating system for the business.
Yep.
And so I call him up, and everybody at Service Titan is like, no. You're a garage door guy. We only do HVAC, plumbing, electrical. And I got a hold of Ara on LinkedIn. And he called me, and he goes, "This is Ara." And I said, "Hey, listen, brother, I'm like you, man. I'm just trying to get ahead in life." I said, "Give me a shot." He goes, "My father was an HVAC guy. Vahe's dad was a plumber. We're super focused. We're not interested in garage door companies. You could understand focus, can't you, Tommy?" And I said, "Absolutely," and I applaud you for that. I said, "If you get me into your system, you won't need any other garage door companies. I'm going to be the largest in the country." I said, "I really need you to take a chance on me." I said, a lot of people gave up on me. Take a chance. And they did.
So at this point, how many employees do you have at A1?
At that point, I probably had 40. 2017.
Okay, and Service Titan is big.
Service Titan has 1,200 or 12,000 home service companies on them now.
Right. You can't have Titan in your name and be small.
Yeah.
I mean, that would take real chutzpah to come out of the gate with nothing and call yourself Service Titan. And how big is A1 today?
We're in 23 states, 42 markets, about to cross 900 coworkers, I call them.
Mm-hmm.
And, hopefully going to cross the $325 million mark. But revenue's for vanity and profit is for sanity. So a lot of people brag about revenue. And then I realized revenue does not make the world go round. You got to make profit. Profit.
Service. Yeah. Service the distribution. Service the debt. Everybody learns that, I think, in their own way, whether you have a business or not. Whether you're just trying to run a household, really.
Yeah.
You've been very generous with your employees, and I just don't really understand who's your competition in this space. How do you think about that? Who do you take from?
Well, the thing is about us is we like to build from the ground up. Like I prefer to take somebody with a great personality and teach them, and to take somebody that's already set in their ways, that's a really good technician. I want to find somebody that smiles, that treats grandma right, that goes in super respectful, that you could trust around your two daughters and your wife when you're not home. I don't want the guys that have grown up in the industry necessarily. Then they're great people as well. But I like to teach them from the beginning our core values and the way we do things and the competitive side of things, and really set them up for life. And, we do have a lot of competition, but I don't look at it as competition. Look, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. So everybody's focused on us, what we're doing next. And I invite them in. I invite all the garage door companies. We have a thing called Vertical Track, and there'll be 200 garage door companies there. I'm going to tell them everything we're working on and how we do it. And people think I'm crazy. When I started a podcast, every single one of the people in my management team said, "Why are you giving away all of our secrets?" I go, "Well, I'll teach you how to get a six-pack too. It doesn't mean you're going to do it." I mean, it's not hard. The stuff we do, it's just everybody knows what they should be doing, but they don't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like we're giving away like the secret sauce. The secret sauce is we grind. We come in, we work hard, we take care of our clients. And you can tell people that, but it's a different thing from saying and doing. We buy all brand new trucks. We give guys $6,000 worth of tools. They can make a great living, but they got to work hard. I mean, our technicians' job are not easy, but yes, they make great money. They get great benefits. They get an opportunity to earn equity in the business, and I'm proud of that. And I still think we're in the fetal stages. We're just getting started. I mean, we are in the earliest part of what this business will become. And what I love is I could leave. It doesn't need me.
Yeah. Well, you built something that's self-sustaining. I mean, it's only the hardest thing to do. But before I ask you what drives you or some other stupid question, let me just pivot and say that the idea of hiring people that you would want to welcome into your house is really interesting, and I think kind of, well, you're addressing a problem that exists in home services. The idea of having somebody under my house working on my foundation or a crawl space or waterproofing or in the garage doing things, they're not workers, no matter what you call them. They're emissaries for their brand.
Yep.
And they're there on your behalf in your house talking to you about something that's probably got you unsettled. My partner Mary's dealing with an HVAC problem right now, as you know.
Yeah.
It's maddening because it's like there's something magical to this stuff. These guys, they show up clean, they go home dirty, and hopefully your problem's fixed. And meanwhile, they're up in your attic and they're down in your basement, they're walking through your house. And how do you train people to be mindful of that and understand that they're not just there to do a job, but they're guests in somebody's home and a representative of who you are and who your mom is?
Well, that's what it is about, is we teach them to ask a lot of questions. If you walk out of a job and you don't know what they do for a living, you don't know their kids' names, the dog's name, how long they plan on staying in the home, where their kids go to school, you failed. And I can't teach you to want to learn, but when you walk out of these houses, do you know how many relationships I built in garages? People would invite me to church. I got asked to be part of the Mormon church about 1,000 times. And people would invite me, before I have a fiance now, but back in the day when I was single, people were trying to introduce me to their daughters because I came in with a big smile. And I always said, thank you so much for the opportunity. I know you have a choice. And when I leave here, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you happy? And I want to make sure that you're happy, because the biggest compliment I could ever receive is a referral, or if you leave me a review. But the most important thing is that I left your house better than when I came in, and I solved your problems. Mm-hmm. And I give you options. I don't want to give you ultimatums, say yes or no. If you don't like what I have to offer, then let's just pick another option. And I don't think we're the highest price. I think we're the best investment. And I'm very careful on how I choose my words. I don't say, sign the contract. I say, can you okay the paperwork? Mm-hmm. These little subtleties change everything. And I just know I've met a few clients in my life that have brought me thousands and thousands of jobs, and you never know when they're going to come. And the worst clients that absolutely hated our company, when I call them up and say, listen, when my mom came out and I tell them the story and I listen to them, and usually I'm angrier than they are at the situation, and I say, I'm going to let you know that he's going to get written up and he's going to have a one-on-one with me and this will never, and they're like, no, he doesn't deserve to get fired. And all of a sudden the story changes, but I get angry when somebody has a bad experience. Now listen, if it's a price thing, I don't promise people I'm going to be the cheapest because you asked me to come out the same day with a drug test and background technician that's going to treat you and your family correct and have all the parts and have a brand new vehicle and honor my warranties. So I want to show up when you need us most. I want to give you options and I want to fix it the right way, not the easy way. And if we're doing that, we're winning. And I don't ever say, we're not called discount garage doors. A1 actually means like top notch. Yeah, but we look a lot at the people. We look at their background and we say, are they honest? Are they humble? Are they willing to learn? And do they want more in life? Because some people, no matter what you feed them and how much you take care of them, they just don't think they're worth it. And I want people, sometimes they have really, this is a big problem is their teeth. They never had braces. So that's one of the first things we look at. Are you happy with yourself? We talk about getting in shape. We have a dream manager. Their full-time job is to work with people to work on, and their significant other, to financially stable. Do you got a budget? Are you want to lose weight? Are you going to bring a kid into this world? Do you have a vacation account? So, the Michael McKellis Profit First, where they'll split up accounts. We teach them how to do that. And the results have been fantastic. And I'm happy our partner allows us to do those things.
Most people can't make the kind of commitment that you've made to their employees, or at least they haven't. And I think part of the reason they haven't is because the lines have been so drawn for so long between labor and management, right? Union and non-union and all of that. And I look at what Groundworks did, and I look at companies like yours where it's not a judgment on unions being good or bad. It's just saying, have you eliminated the need for them?
Well, I'm a big fan of unions back in the day. I mean, you watch the men who built America, and they were doing some pretty treacherous things. And I believe now they're as corrupt, if not more corrupt, than corporate America. I mean, the things that they do is like, they stop the whole plant from manufacturing.
Right.
And look, I'm not anti-union, and I don't want it to come off that way because I don't really get into politics on podcasts. That's not what I do. I'm a small garage door company. Well, not small, but
yeah, you're tiny.
But I'll tell you that private equity learned a long time ago to do what's called profit units. What I started before private equity was an equity incentive program. And what every strong company does when they go public is they do stock options for the senior management, middle management. And so I teach this equity incentive program. I'm writing a book on it right now called Pay Them What They're Worth. It's coming out in September. And the idea is...
What was your last book? Was it Elevate?
Elevate, Build a Business Where Everybody Wins.
Yeah.
And this next one is Pay Them What They're Worth. And this idea being people are going to start sprinting in the same direction. And they're going to have a stake in the outcome, and they're going to act like an owner. They're going to self-police. I don't love ESOPs because I don't believe everybody's earned it. And they just come in and everybody gets a fair shake. My old CFO came from an ESOP, was there 15 years as a CFO, got $500,000. He worked for me 3 years, got a lot more than that. I won't go into numbers, but the fact is, you come in, you got a fair shot of earning it. You know exactly what you need to do. It's a Jack Welch. You know what you need to do to keep your job here. 10% is going to leave each year. But this idea that, hey, everybody gets a piece. I don't love that, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong. It's better than not giving it all.
But it's not truly...
It's not meritocracy.
It's not a meritocracy, right?
So I'm really big into meritocracy, and you could earn this. Everyone knows everybody's got a fair shot. If you want help, if you got a will, I'm going to find a way. If you lie, cheat, or steal, we're not going to do business, and we're not even going to be friends anymore. We don't need to lie, cheat, or steal. And if you're struggling... My favorite 3 letters is ASK. Just ask. That's all I ever do. I had a gentleman in my house yesterday. I'm learning more about this other industry. And I mean, I just asked him questions for 4 hours. And I loved it because he's given me so much information. I mean, just that opportunity to sit down with this gentleman and the kindest guy. And I learned so much. And he goes, the one thing, and that's this word... yeah, it's not geisha, it's this Indian word. But what it means is treat everybody, including yourself, fair. Don't ever judge somebody. Like, treat everybody like they're human beings. And he's like, that's what, when I die, I want people to say that word. That's what I want on my casket. And I just learned so much from him. And the point being is, if more people would have the tenacity, whatever the word is, to just go out there and not feel stupid. Go ask. Success leaves clues.
I ask this a lot. I mean, in terms of virtues, what's the most important? And the conversations are always great because there are a lot of terrific virtues, but the one you're just talking about that gets overlooked a bunch is curiosity. Yeah. Like, if you can actually sit there and ask somebody questions for 4 hours straight and not make it about yourself, that's it's not a gift, it's a muscle. Yeah. You can actually work that muscle out, and but I don't know how you teach it. I don't know how you make your employees more curious than they would otherwise be. That's probably mom's department. She must have done something smart when you were a kid.
I just wish people would say, ask more questions. That when I'm in a garage and I find out somebody does something, I remember one day I'm in this garage, this guy's talking about Bernie Sanders. And I don't know much about Bernie Sanders. I said, really, what do you like about Bernie Sanders? And he's telling me about Vermont and all this stuff. And I learned a lot. And I'm not like closed off. If you don't believe, whatever religion or politics or whatever career you chose, I'm going to ask a lot of questions and I'm going to be curious, because I'm not going to have a debate with you. I'm just going to ask you where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. And if I could come from that stance, I'm winning. And the reason I went to Alex Epstein is I watched him explain global warming and climate change. And he said, we're going to talk about this box. Or he goes, I'm for green energy. And I watched him at this lecture he did, and I said, that is the best thing I've ever heard. So I got a hold of him, and I said, I want you to teach me, not argue or debate, but how to make a point and have other people see it through my lens. Mm-hmm. And it's emotional intelligence is what it is. The Wall Street Journal put out 2 articles. It's like the hottest thing, like kitchens, bathrooms. You might think, everybody says, remodel your kitchen, remodel your bathroom, you get the best ROI. You put $100 in your garage door, you take $194 out. We trademarked the garage door as the smile of your home. It's 40% of your curb appeal. And it is. I watch a James Bond movie, and I'm looking at the background of the garage doors. I love what I do. I didn't know I would love this so much, but I'm like, that's a clopay.
That's terrific.
It really is a passion. It really is exciting, and it's something that I've came to love. And it's like I said, I don't go to work, and I watch people. They text. I get text. Yesterday in Minnesota, we saved a lady's life.
How?
He gave her CPR. She was choking.
So what do you do internally with the guy, your employee, who saves a woman's life in Minnesota? Well, like, what do you do? Like, how does that?
I'll tell you what I do is I interview him, and I get to interview 1 to 2 technicians a week. And the whole company sees it. I don't need to call my PR company and get this on blast on all the news. I just like recognition. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, they like to be rewarded with recognition. And I'm just very proud. I've not talked to the homeowner. I'm probably going to give her a call, let her get a hold of herself. But I got 3 different calls and 2 text messages when it happened.
Because those are like giant life moments. Like, that guy's life will never be the same. And like, 1 minute you're put in a garage door, and the next minute you're literally saving somebody's life. And so now the question is, how do you acknowledge it without being gross? How do you? Yeah. Like where do you?
The opportunity is that these. My CFO is he's the most amazing guy on the planet. He's perfect for me.
What's his name?
Adrian. Mm-hmm. And he's from England. And there's certain things, I'm not allowed to just hand out cash or give gift cards or anything like that, because then they got to pay taxes on it. Mm-hmm. And we are straight-laced. I mean, it's black and white. There's no gray. So I called him up the other day and I said, can we switch our credit card instead of the cash back to get points? Because I know all the IRS, they love to use their points. So we'll buy points, and I can give the guy flights, and I can give them gift cards, and it's all kosher with the IRS. He says, yeah, we could probably do that. But I love recognition, and so we do these trips. I interviewed one of my techs, and he told me to keep it discreet, but we won't give his name. And I'm interviewing him for one of the Thursday meetings, and he says, Tommy, I had a sister. And in 1992, I had taught her how to hit the button on the garage door and run out. And I was like, in my head, I go, oh no. And he goes, the reason they have safety eyes is because of her. It crushed her. She died.
The garage door did.
Yeah, in 1992. And he says, I've been at corporate America. I had 40 employees work under me. And every night since then, I've had night terrors. And he goes, so I've been going to therapy ever since then. Every day I got to go to a therapist. And he goes, the answer was to come work for a garage door company and confront my fear. So I did some research, and you were the company that I found that I wanted to be part of. And he goes, I haven't had a night terror in 3 months since I started here, but you better believe when I walk in the home, I'm going to make sure everything's safe. And he goes, so I know I'm making the world a better place, one garage door at a time. And that was like, that's pretty crazy. I was like, jeez.
Well, I'd love to get more of your thoughts on danger and risk. You said something earlier that conjured up an image. We were talking about unions. And once upon a time, unions served a different function in our country. And once upon a time, our people had a different relationship with risk. I'm thinking of that picture. I'm sure you've seen it. New York skyline, 12 guys.
Oh, sitting on the top.
See if you can find that, Chuck.
Yeah.
It's such a great photo.
I had that in my house for a decade, black and white.
Yeah, and it's their lunch break.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
They're probably 6, 7, maybe 800 feet up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting on a piece of steel. And one guy, they got their lunchbox. The guy's having his coffee. One of them's telling a joke. And they're just sitting there. They're not tied off. They're in defiance of, every single OSHA protocol that could possibly be imagined or articulated. Yeah. There's nothing. I'm not saying this is a photo to be emulated, but I'm saying it is so representative of a time in our country where we thought differently about risk, and part of the way I think that impacts unions and work. It's like the more we've done to eliminate risk, we've paid in some way for that. It's not a bargain, I think most people understand. I don't, but I know it was transactional, and I'm not sure we got there it is. Look at those crazy sons of bitches. Jeez. Like guys lighting a cigarette.
Safety
paper.
is the most important thing. I get that, and we were steel-toed shoes, and we do the right stuff. But at this point, look there was a big fire here in California. It's going to take them 3 years to get the permits. Yeah. They make it impossible. The red tape, the things you got to go through. It's anti-productivity. It's anti-growth, and I understand the need to be safe, but there's measures that just go beyond the scope of what's necessary, where it becomes anti-growth, anti-good for America. And I just think, China's going out. They got coal mines going up every day. And don't get me wrong, let's do the right thing, but let's do it within reason.
One a week for the next 30 years between India and China.
Yeah.
Coal-fired power plants, one a week. So yeah, that's happening for real. And, there are probably guys over there working on the Three Gorges Dam and some of these unbelievable construction projects who are taking their lunch breaks, much like those guys were back when they were building the Chrysler building or whatever it was. But my point is, things are always changing all the time, everywhere. And we're in a country and in a world and in a time right now where compliance.
Yep.
That's the C word. That's the real. Right? You guys have to be in compliance. But of course, just because you're in compliance doesn't mean you're out of danger, and it's certainly not an indicator of success. It's just a thing you got to do.
Well, 2020 COVID, which was never fun for anybody, but we were deemed essential. If you couldn't get out of your garage, you couldn't go to the hospital, you couldn't go get groceries. If you're trapped, if a faucet breaks, a hot water heater goes bad, and air conditioning, it's 140 degrees in the house. And I just remember it changed the whole thing. Everything changed. Hotels were shutting down, nail salons, bowling alleys, movie theaters, everything was closed. And all of a sudden, we get a phone call that we're deemed essential. One of our lawyers called and they said, "You guys go to work. You guys are good." And all of a sudden, yes, the money came because they realized we're not just blue-collar idiots. We run a really sophisticated business. We've got key performance indicators. We know exactly what our growth is going to be. And I was never embarrassed to tell people what I did. I'd be talking to a dentist, a lawyer, and a doctor, and I'd be smiling, "I'm a garage door guy." And I was not embarrassed at all.
Well, you shouldn't be, but I'll tell you, I didn't even think about it till you just said it. But if your garage door is busted and you can't get out, you can't get your vehicle out, you're right. That's just not, hey, it's your house's smile. Let's dress it up and paint it. This thing's got to work. I mean,
It's got to open.
It's got, right.
About 40% of our revenue comes from new doors. 60% comes from service. And when you look at how the buyer's persona works, as we've done a lot of studies on our industry, we've spent millions of dollars studying the is it discretionary or non-discretionary?
Right.
Could we make it through a Great Depression if it happened? And what's great is, no matter what, you might not replace your door, but you're still going to get it fixed. Mm-hmm. And even in 2007-8, when we were going through the storm of people losing their house, they were giving it back to the banks. I remember talking to so many clients saying, "Hey, listen, I'm giving this back to the bank, but I need to be able to get my daughter and son's beds out. We got to go move back with the family, but we still need to be able to open the garage." And so we've been a service-based business. I love new doors. I love the curb appeal. I love the smile of your home, but really, we're there when you need us most. We'll show up the same day. We'll show up at midnight. We'll be there on Christmas. And obviously, our people get more money to go run those calls.
Sure.
But, they love it. Both decision makers are home. They get to sit down. We try to sit down at the kitchen table and say, "Look, we just want to figure out what's going to be good for you." And we offer coffee on the way. It's just the right thing to do. And I don't think so many businesses, it's lucky if they answer their phone now. So if you answer the phone, you're already doing something right.
Right.
For us, if I don't have a 90% booking rate, I'm angry. I'm walking into the call center. I'm working with the agents. I've got stories of me walking into the call center, and one day we lost a job. And I call the technician up. I go, "Can you get to this job in 30 minutes? He goes, "Yeah, boss, whatever for you." It was in Oklahoma City. And I call up the client, call her Miss Smith. Miss Smith answers the phone, and she goes, "Hey, this is Miss Smith. How can I help you?" I said, "Miss Smith, Tommy Mello, 81 Garage Door Service. I know you just had called us, and we couldn't get out there tonight. I wanted to let you know that I could get a guy there in less than 30 minutes. She goes, "Oh, Tommy, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I just called another company. They're going to be out here in about an hour and a half." And I go, "Would you mind telling me the name of the company?" And she goes, "XYZ company." I'll go, "That's a great company. They're very good at what they do." I go, "What if I could cancel the emergency fee, be there in 30 minutes? She goes, "Tommy, I've already booked with this other company. I really appreciate you offering that." I go, "No problem. Well, you gave me their name. Why don't I call them and cancel for you? And we'll be there in 30 minutes.
Dude. See, yeah, all right. That's
anyway, she hangs up, cancels, calls me back. She's laughing. She goes, "You guys, come on out." So you got to fight for, that's the difference though. You got to fight for your clients, and you got to fight for your people even more. That's the thing. These are your internal clients, every person that I work with. And if you're not fighting for them, they have choices. I mean, my people are sought after. So are Matt's.
Yeah.
And you got to treat them like gold. You can't just say we're going to treat our clients great and then, poop on your people. Trying not to swear here, even though I've slipped one.
Well, you may mean, poop on your people following shit show it's an interesting dichotomy. Yeah. Here's another C word for you: competitive. You strike me as a competitive, like that. That's not just business. What that scenario you just described is personal.
I'm the most competitive guy you'll ever meet. I mean, literally, I hate to lose more than I like to win. And that's a fact. And I am in the golf tournament. I just got back from Michigan, 24 guys, including my dad and two of my cousins and my brother-in-law, and undefeated. Mm-hmm. Our volleyball tournament, and we go on this thing called the Pinnacle Trip with our guys. We bring about 100 people out there, undefeated in the volleyball tournament. We bet 10 grand. As my dad taught me, you don't get a participation trophy. I'm not going to say good if you got in second place. He wasn't like, I get a spanking if I lost. But my dad, used to beat me in billiards with one hand till the day he showed up and I smoked him. And he goes, "What in the hell?" And I go, "I've been practicing." So he taught me, like, look, I was a wrestler and I just hate losing. I just, there's no, like, if I played Candyland with my niece and nephews when they were young, I'd whoop their butts. And they go, "Why are you playing so hard?" And I'm like, "Because you're going to appreciate when you beat me and you're going to know you beat me and I was trying my best." So, yeah, and that's when you walk into this business, you smell the competitiveness. But I explain to people, just because they win doesn't mean you lose. Elevate's about everybody gets to win in this game. We are, because he made a lot of money doesn't mean you don't get to make money.
So it's not a zero-sum game.
It's not a zero-sum game. And that's what's important is competitiveness is a good thing, but it could go too far. And it could mean I'm in a world of my own and I'm not going to share. So I explain in the orientation of how competition is a good thing, but you got to ask for help and you got to teach the other people how to win.
You give up your secrets. Like you sit on this podcast you're doing, which is called
The Home Service Expert.
Right. And so Tommy brings other people onto the podcast who are growing a business, attempting to follow in your footsteps, a lot of skilled tradespeople who are just kind of out there without a net, and some who have had great success, others who have brought in private equity. It runs the whole gamut. But earlier you said that, there's this concern that you're going to give away the secrets, right? You're going to spill the secret sauce. And we were just talking about a show that I did a couple years ago called 6 Degrees. It's a great show, but distribution is really tough today. And so, the smart money says, well, what you got to do is you got to really protect the exclusivity of the asset, and you have to shop it carefully and privately, and then make a deal with somebody. And that all used to be true, and that all used to work. But we are in as different a time as when those guys were sitting on that girder in all these industries. And today I'm going to go over after this, and I'm going to talk to Mary and say, we should put 6 Degrees on YouTube right now. Just give it away. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Because it's a giant world, and you never know what happens when you just give it away. Other people will see it. Other ideas will emerge. Other relationships will evolve. Look at us. The energy thing. I had no plans on going there. Chuck came along too. Put it out there. Whatever your secret is, whatever the special sauce is. And it's not going to be taken from you. It's not, I mean, it might be, but like you say, I can teach you how to get a 6-pack. It's not a secret.
No, it's not that. It's easier in the United States to become a millionaire than to have a 6-pack. I mean, that's just the facts. And you look at this, and so many people are like, they stay in this world. There's a guy named Ron Smith. He wrote a book called HVAC Spells Wealth. Started out in the 60s. He passed away. I was fortunate enough to get him on my podcast. And he said, you know what I'd do? He goes, I'd get together all the HVAC companies in Southern Florida, and they'd come to my shop. And I'd open up the doors, tell them exactly what I'm doing. And what manifested out of that was a best practices group that he was part of. And that's why HVAC learned it. HVAC was not the best industry. It's just they got together a lot earlier and started discussing how to help each other. And so what I learned was, I'm just going to invite all the garage door companies in, and they call it Woodstock. I got a couple hundred garage door companies in a room, and I had all these HVAC guys come up and talk about why they do what they do, service agreements, how they work with their vendors, why they drive new trucks, hence depreciation, financing, which we never call financing, we call it promotions because we pay a dealer fee. And it was like lights started turning on. When you watch these lights start turning on in these guys' faces and the smiles, is they thought they had to work and take all this risk to make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
But one lawsuit, one accident, one thing goes wrong, one shift in the economy, they're out of business. And it doesn't mean you got to become a billionaire. Because listen, I was very fortunate. I've had a lot of things go right, and there's a lot of people along the way. And look, for me, it's legacy. Like, I want to see how far we could take this. I met Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know who he is. And I said, you know what my mom says to me a lot, Gary? And he goes, what's that, Tommy? I said, she asked me how much is enough. And he starts laughing. He goes, but it gets easier and it gets more fun, and you want to see how far you could take it, right? I go, yeah. I'm like, look, for me, the money's not been a thing for a long time. I don't need to be there. I don't have to go in. Like, I've got options. I could retire my family over and over again, and it's not about the money. My point is, we're doing something big. If you're part of this company, you're part of a movement. Like, we are doing cool stuff. And how many lives could we change? How many lives can we affect? It's something, it's a passionate thing, but it's also fun to watch people bring a kid into this world or lose weight and start hitting the gym. Like my whole office, I walked into my COO's office. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I took off my shirt. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "What's your excuse?" And now he's ripped up. He is better. He's more in shape than I am.
See, you're in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that in California.
No.
You start walking in the CFO office and start taking off your shirt. Next thing you know, you're taking off your pants. Next thing you know,
That's right.
Things spiral quickly.
Hey, I left my belt on. That's for sure. Yeah.
But it is connected, right? I mean, if you're competitive, if you're curious, you're going to be as competitive and curious about your physicality, your physical health, as you are your mental health, as you are your business acumen. You're going to be the kind of person who will pick up the phone call the customer, call the competitor, talk them out of the right. That's if those qualities are genuinely embedded in you, they're going to manifest in every area, for better or worse. Has this personality of yours, this drive, has it impacted you negatively in any way?
Well, I've really learned to not be such a sore loser and realize it is a lesson learned. There are some relationships that I think were toxic. I don't have a high tolerance for people that don't want to try. And so I just got to leave them alone. And my old COO used to say there are hikers and there are campers. We got to have both. And I'm like, I don't like campers. People that just stay still in life and they don't want more. Mm-hmm. I'm like, and then I got to teach my entire staff. We teach people to be lions and ask for more and go forward in life and be bold. And they can't be lambs back to us. They're like, they just want more. They want to figure out how to move out of the truck. They want to figure out, they ask for raises. And I go, good. That's what we've asked them to do. I'm like, you can't teach them to go for no at everything they do in life and then to not do it to us.
In defense of campers, there are some in that cohort who got to the campsite by hiking. Right? They went out for a hike and they decided, you know what? I've been walking a long time. I'm going to pitch a tent here for a while.
And relax. That's fair. And people go through different stages of life. And I've been there for guys that have been through a lot. Man, when you go through a divorce or somebody passes away, look, I never turn my back on that. And I don't expect you, it's going to take some time. Time's the only thing that's going to heal that. And I'm going to be there for you. And I've been through that now more times than I could count. One of my great friends, one of the top guys in Grand Rapids, just lost his mother. And I interviewed him yesterday, and he said, today's a better day. And I know Mom's looking down. I just got the keys to my house. I've got an amazing wife. I'm at my aunt's house. And I said, well, I'll tell you this, Ben. Your mom is super proud of you. You just got a house. You're living your best life. You're such a great guy. You're genuine. You care. And you're getting so far in life. All I want you to do is continue to try. Just better your best every day. And if you continue to walk these lines, the world has so much more to offer you.
I used to say that all the time about Dirty Jobs. It was the first show I did where I really wasn't a host. I was an apprentice. And when people ask me about the job, I'd say, I have one job. It's to try. Paid to try. That's the thing. It was the first time I wasn't really evaluated on competency. Another C word worth riffing on. Yeah. Do you think people are paralyzed today by the number of options they have? And of course, I'm referring broadly, but also to the Cheesecake Factory's menu, which to this day haunts my dreams. You go in, you want a salad, and somebody hands you a book.
Yeah.
It's a book.
It's a lot of options.
It's just page after page after page and pictures, and pretty soon you just sit there and say, I don't know. And you just wind up ordering something you didn't really want in the first place.
Well, every time I go to a restaurant, because I was a server and a busboy for so long and a bartender, I'll tell you a couple of things. Number one is I love pictures. Because I can look at something and be like, man, that's the way my brain works, is that looks awesome. I'll go so pictures help a menu. And number two, I ask the server, what's your favorite things? And don't lie to me. I know I was a server for a long time. I'm going to tip you excellent. if you give me decent service. I don't expect you to. Typically, I tip more than most, and so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to sell me on the steak because it'll raise the ticket. I used to be the best dessert seller on the planet. I used to say, listen, this dessert, it's the best dessert. It takes about 20 minutes. So when I put in your entree order, we'll put in the dessert order. I knew nobody was going to be hungry. So I will always win the contest for the most dessert sold.
You know what else works too, at least in my experience? You got to tell them what sucks. You got to tell them what to avoid.
Yeah.
If you're also going to tell them what you love, because there's just no better way.
Well, it builds that's an instant credibility.
I literally had a guy look at me. I won't name the restaurant, but I ordered what I ordered, and he gives me this. He just goes, just a real slow head shake. Just don't do it, dude.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I'm like, all right, what do you think? He's like, get the trout. It's fresh. I said, all right. It was great. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I love that advice. You know, one of the coolest things in life is there's a book by Daniel Pink called To Sell is Human. I'll tell you the biggest stigma about our industry is when you hire a salesman. If you ever meet a wife or a husband, you're in sales. You know, you're probably not farting out loud. You're probably not burping. You're probably opening their door. When you get your son or daughter to make their bed, you're in sales. There's this bad stigma from a long time ago that the used car salesman and money was a bad thing too. Anybody that's gone through the Great Depression has been like, oh, Thanksgiving comes and look, we're eating like the rich folk.
Mm-hmm.
And so having money was a bad thing. Sales is a bad thing. And I go, listen, we go to this church called Impact Church. Travis Hearn is the pastor. And I go, how many of you guys have been to church? And I say, do you think your pastor is a good guy or a bad guy? And a great guy, yeah. And I'm like, when he gets you to, typically what they need to do to keep the church going is to get money. And so typically they're going to talk about paying your 10%. And that's what their success. They're in sales too. And this idea of sales is a bad thing. Yes, if you were to close your eyes right now, and I told you, think about it, sales, and write it down, most people would write this bad story about how they've been burned in sales.
Yep.
And so my job is to turn it around and say, look, we are giving opportunities. We're solving problems. We're letting them decide. We give options, and they pick what they want. The first thing I start out my orientation with is, how many people here sell things to people they don't need? And everybody's like, no, we don't do that. I go, that's all I sell to people. I go, I got a brand new cell phone. The old one was fine. Who needs a garage door that you could open up from a cell phone? I'm like, who needs a steel back 2-inch thick polyurethane door?
If they need it, they'll order it. An order is different than a sale.
I just talk to people and say, listen, I love this. This is what I put in my mom's house. This is what my dad has. I believe in this. Would you like this? And they buy things they want. Do you know how many things we have in life that we didn't need, but we want? You need oxygen, you need water, you need clothing, you need a place to sleep. And I'm like, guys, you're not a salesperson. You're giving options of people buy stuff all the time that makes their life easier. And there's this thing that I learned about yesterday from this gentleman I was talking about called anyway dollars. Like, you're going to spend the money anyway. Well, like, if Amazon Prime and Walmart will deliver into your garage.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that steal, that are porch thieves. So why not have them deliver all your groceries into your house? You're going to order the groceries anyway. And so he started to teach me, like, your energy bill goes down, and he does water purification. And when you do water purity, like, the soap goes a longer way, the conditioner, the dishwasher will last longer, the washing machine, like the hot water heater will last longer. You give a better warranty. And he calls it anyway dollars. And I'm like, that's genius. You're saving people a fortune that it pays for itself. And so me and Ashley are going to work on everything for a garage door that are anyway dollars. You're going to use the money anyway, not put it towards an investment into your home.
Right.
I just love this stuff, man. I can talk to you all day, but...
Well, look, we got to land the plane, but the last thought is philanthropy. I know you give a damn about a number of things, and maybe I hate to ask you for advice, because you know what? You never really know who's listening, and different people need to hear different things at different times. But you did carve out a chunk for yourself and for your company. And when I think of the 2,500 people that we've helped through MicroWorks, they're out there in the wind. I don't know how all of them are doing. I know many of them are doing real well. So in the world of home services and skilled trades, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what would you say to people who are considering learning a skill or maybe even hanging out a shingle? Is there some advice that you feel like is evergreen?
Well, I know about a decade ago, I was told, go to school, get your degree, become a developer, get into coding. And this fancy thing came out that I've been studying the heck out of is artificial intelligence. And next year, Elon Musk with Tesla is coming out with robotics. You'll be able to walk the dog. It'll do light landscaping. It'll do light cooking. They can do some pretty cool stuff, but it's learning in the process, and it gets smarter and updated all the time. I don't believe skilled trades will be replaced anytime soon. So you've got a long horizon. It's in need. The average plumber is now in their 50s. I'm telling you right now that there's not enough people going into the trades. And it's not a sexy job, but it's fun. And you get to work with people and you get to grow into the business. Get the right company, but you can make six figures. You can get the benefits. You can be part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. And you get to work with your hands. Like I was going to be a dentist working in people's mouth. Like I can't imagine that life. I would say, listen, I love what I do. And if you ever want to come visit our shop, it's TommyMello.com/shop. I don't charge a penny. We'll take you through, show you what it's all about. And I don't want to make money doing this stuff. I want to pay it forward with the so many people that paid it forward to me. And I really think this industry it's the best thing. And I know, by the way, the number one suicide rate is dentists. Doctors, not much better. Lawyers, I'm not even going to go down that road. But all these people that make money, they're going to be replaced. Like right now, even the surgeries they're figuring out, like the best surgeon puts on the gloves. The AI is learning. They're taking the blood after. Those things will be able to do more. Right now, they can put stitches into one corn kernel.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, it's coming.
And it's the top of the first inning.
Just wait for the next 5 years. And I'm telling you, they're not going to do garage doors or HVAC or we crawling in attics or going under. They're not going to. There will be advancements.
You think they'll be pulling teeth?
I think, yes. I think pretty soon there will be something that does the dental work.
Well, congratulations on what you've built, and thanks for building it the way you built it. I think your podcast is, and by the way, it's not just a little vanity thing either. You've actually got a chunk of listeners out there. Like people are listening to this thing regularly.
Yeah, I think there's a couple 100,000 downloads a month, and I've never missed an episode. Never missed one. And
you do one a week?
One a week, and the real thing is I needed help. I needed something to allow people to come. I couldn't afford all the consulting I got. I'd get them for an hour to 2 hours. I get to ask them any questions I want. So I remember one day I was having this huge problem in HR and human resources, and it's actually a good thing if you really look at what it is. We always think about HR as this bad thing, but I found the number one person on the planet for HR, invited them on, and I asked them a million questions. And 1 out of 40 people I have on the podcast I hired to consult me. That's always how it worked out, 1 out of 40. And so I've always invested into myself, and I think the people listening, if you get an opportunity, Michael Jordan had 3 coaches, and he had, Phil. Like every single person that's listening, if you're not investing into yourself, you're losing. I work with Dan Martell. He's excellent. He got me to look through things through a different lens of buying back your time because there's 168 hours in a week.
Right.
You spend 50 working, 50 sleeping. Maybe you spend 10 working out if you're in great shape. You still got 60 hours left. Like you could watch your favorite Netflix show, spend time with your wife, going on dates, take time with your kids, and still have plenty of time left. That's another thing that he taught me is own your calendar. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all these people, you know what the equalizer is?
Time.
We've got the same amount of time. So you might say, man, they keep getting lucky. They got this. No, the one thing they can't, they'd give it all back to take back 40 years. So I love the fact I feel old sometimes. I feel young sometimes. I'm 42, but I feel like I'm just getting started. Like tomorrow's going to be a great day.
You're walking around with a notebook. Is that thing always with you?
I always have notes, yeah.
I mean, you actually, like, I thought you were making notes about stuff you wanted to talk about, but you actually wrote down stuff that I just said.
Yeah, avoid. I always take a lot of notes, and I think that's a great. That's one of the things. If anybody's out there, that if you want to impress people, number one, I can't remember everything. Number two is take notes. Take notes, especially if you're on grandpa or your elder or somebody that's been where you want to go. Is write things down. When I brought this in front of Al Levy in 2017, he goes, Tommy, I've sat down with 50 people your age. Not one of them brought a notebook and took any notes. Not one of them.
Well, since you invoked mothers, you know what my mom did for the last 2 years of her dad's life? She walked across the lawn and sat next to him. He was blind by then. He was 90 years old. And just asked him questions and wrote down all the answers on a legal pad. My mom writes every day. And I watched her doing that, and just thought, I'm not sure I understand what's happening, but you're so right. The curiosity, like at getting my pop to talk about his youth and then writing it down in front of him. He couldn't see her doing it, but he knew what she was doing. It's a supreme and sublime compliment to be that interested, and that's why taking notes is interesting.
Yeah,
it's a hallmark
true.
of curiosity. Now, what are you writing? What are you writing?
Well, I like what you said. Be interested, and when you're interested, you take notes.
Well, the most interesting people are always interested.
Yeah,
you can jot that down too if you want. That's a free one.
The most interesting people are the most interested. As genuinely being interested, I tell the folks I work with, I say, if you don't really are interested, like if someone's got a Harley and you hate motorcycles, don't talk about Harleys. But if you love Harleys
Right.
and you've been to Sturgis, ask them questions about it.
Yeah.
And you watch people light up.
Sure.
I say this, my number one rule is knock the door, don't ring the doorbell. Strangers ring the doorbell. And when the dog comes, the dog is like their sixth sense that's going to know. So you got to play with the dog. If they got a cat, you're allowed to run.
I'll leave you with this, folks. Tommy Mello, once upon a time, bought a Bowflex and resold it. And then he did it again with the Total Gym.
That's right.
And the idea that you understood arbitrage at that age and now today are building whatever this thing is. I don't know what's beyond A or before 1. Some Greek letter maybe in a 0. But whatever you're doing, man, you are on some kind of ride. And you must be this tall to get on it, and you are. So congrats.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I owe you one. If I can ever return the favor, let me know. If you're
Well,
hard
you're a
up for
busy
a
guy.
guest.
I want to work
am
with
busy.
you in the future. I'll tell everybody out there, Mike is probably one of the busiest guys I've met, but he took time to respond to my text message. And I think you did it.
You know what you did, dude? You sent me a video. I ignored 2 text messages, not on purpose, but I was just jammed, and I was walking out of like a Restoration Hardware or a Pottery Barn or something, and you literally sent me a selfie saying, "Hey, I'm so respectful of your time, but I think we need to talk about a bunch of stuff." And there it is. Now I understand why you would get on the phone and call a customer and then ultimately